So more on Norse myth versus the Bible. The giants. He was with frost giants, though this ain't in the Bible. It could be possible. Like Surtur. Mentions basically Surtur coming out when Ragnarok happens, and it mentions the horseman of war, Gadriel. Mentions him as a god, an angel. They do have power. The equivalent would be Revelation in the Bible. Horsemen are just metaphor for actual wars and other events that are supposed to happen? I don't think so. Because Revelation 17 actually says when it's a metaphor. So basically, this whole part that you can read, that it talks about Mystery Babylon, harlots, and blah blah. But here is the mind which has wisdom. 7 heads are 7 mountains where the woman sits, and there's 7 kings, 5 are fallen. And it just goes on about what the metaphor actually means. It tells you direct out what everything is in the Bible if it is a metaphor. So why would it just be a metaphor if someone else thinks so? So if you're Christian and say Revelation is a metaphor, a Revelation wouldn't really make sense. You're calling part of your religion a metaphor and making part of it invalid in a sense. Why would only some parts of the Bible be a metaphor? But sure, Jesus spoke in parables, but we still know the meaning of them today, and it's not really hard to figure out. Adding to that, he actually defines what he means because it was confusing for some, and that was another instance of defining what a metaphor is in the Bible and how they actually explained it. I mean, you had what they said and then what it actually was, and they laid it out like that. So if something was saying something, it's most likely it if they didn't add anything to that. So how do you explain the creatures? Look at different mythologies and the descriptions match. The Bible was made to convert people in other cultures and religions and tell the story of Jesus and everything else. How can you convert someone who is already a Christian? That's where the answer comes in, and belief is key. Christians insert themselves and their beliefs into the text and make their own kind of thing instead of actually going by the history of it. They think that the creatures of Revelation can't exist because it's too far-fetched and stuff like that. But what about every mythology and other cultures that have these kinds of stories? Chapter 9 of Revelation. Shape of the locusts was like horses prepared for battle. On their heads were crowns of something like gold. Their faces were like the faces of men, had hair like women's hair. The teeth were like lions' teeth. They had breastplates like breastplates of iron. Sound of their wings like sound of chariots running into battle. They had tails like scorpions, and their stings in their tails. You look up an image of the manticore, and that describes everything that it has. This manticore was from Greek mythology, so that just tells you different cultures and stories mixed together already. So to want something matching more of today's description and age, I don't think you're going to get that. So chapter 4, that no stranger who is native there can stand it. Surt is the name of him who stands on its border guarding it, Surtur. He has a flaming sword in hand at the end of the world. Come and harry, conquer. All the gods burn up the whole world with fire. Okay, and it gives the little poem right there. Not many know that Gadriel, he was the guardian of the Garden of Eden. He stood guard with a flaming sword. His fall happened when he failed to prevent the serpent from entering the garden. Genesis 3, 1 through 15. He got the position to run hell, and Surtur would just be a different name for the story. Some details are left out of the Bible due to different things that have happened. Bible has been translated many times, and things happen with the Vikings also that I'll soon tell. Noah's Ark and how it goes into Norse. Ganglier asked, how could these keep peace with Ymir, or who was the stronger? Then answered Har, the sons of Bor slew the giant Ymir, but when he fell there flowed so much blood from his wounds that they drowned therein the whole race of frost giants. the biblical flood, wiping out the Nephilim. Okay. Except one who escaped with his household. Him the giants called Bergomer. He and his wife went on board his ark and saved themselves in it. From there come new races of frost giants, as it's here said. Countless winters, ere the earth was made, was born Bergomer. The first I call to mind how that crafty giant safe in his ark lay. The Nephilim from the Bible, angels that bred with humans, Genesis 6, 4 through 8, and Noah, Genesis 7. So it said it was the blood of Ymir that was basically the ocean that flooded, right? So the ocean is all salt water, and the question is whether blood would be salty. Is blood salty? Blood consists around 85% sodium present in the whole body. Then said Ganglier, what was done by them by the sons of Bor, since you believed that they were gods? Answered Har, how about there is not a little to be said. They took the body of Ymir and carried it into the midst of Nungagap and made him of the earth. Of his blood they made the seas and lakes. Of his flesh the earth was made. But of his bones the rocks. Of his teeth and jaws, and of the bones that were broken, they made stones and pebbles. Yalfanhar remarked, of the blood that flowed from the wounds and was free, they made the ocean. They fastened the earth together, and around it they laid this ocean in a ring without, and it must seem to most men impossible to cross it. Thride added, they took his skull and made thereof the sky, and raised it over the earth with 4 sides. Under each corner they set a dwarf, and 4 dwarves were called Aster, east, Vester, west, Nodr, north, and Sudr, south. They took glowing sparks, and it just goes on. Just like Job 9:6 says, which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble. So the dwarves being holding up the pillars and everything else.